Stephen Jackson, Caddo Commissioner, is here for a little bit. Hey, Mr. Stephen, how you been? Nice to have you
Good morning.
back.
Good morning, Robert and Erin. How you doing?
Good. You proposed something to the Caddo Commission to use $1 million from the reserve fund to help fight crime in Shreveport. Describe what you wanted to do. Describe the program, Shot Spotter, I think it's called.
Sure. And let me start by saying thank you to the men and women of Shreveport Police Department and our fire departments, local law enforcement, sheriff's department that put their lives on the line every day. And our hearts and prayers are with the families of victims who've been taken by senseless tragedy. My program that I offered up yesterday was just a piece of what I think should be a comprehensive strategy to either prevent, respond, or work in concert with local law enforcement to combat crime in our city that we're seeing. It's a shot spotter technology that detects gunshots. We often see, just as we saw in the case of the young 4-year-old Messiah Murphy, where his incident happened and no one knows anything, no one saw anything. So why not provide our men and women who are out there doing this work with some technology and 21st century resources that they can use to solve these crimes.
Mr. Stephen, in what other municipalities is this being used? Where has it been successful? How exactly does it work if it's post-crime?
Yeah, well, it has worked successful in the city of Dallas. Dallas has rolled out a plan to do the Shot Spotter program. They also added cameras to theirs as well. New Orleans and Baton Rouge has not seen the success that they thought they would see, but they've also recognized that they didn't implement it correctly as well. So they're going back and retweaking that with their new mayors, Mayor Weston Broome, and newly sworn in Mayor LaToya Cantrell of New Orleans. They recognize that, hey, this was a problem, but I believe there's either the sheriff and either Plaquemines or St. Tammany Parish who recognize that it has helped him solve several cases from homicides to armed robberies. And so there are models where it has worked very well. There are models where there needs to be some tweaking and fine-tuning. What I offered was a pilot program so that we could, work with the program, look at it, see what we can do well with it, see what may need to be changed, or we can say, hey, this may not be the program that we're looking for. But to do nothing, to continue to come out and say crime is up, and we do nothing, is not the way we should continue to go.
Have you talked to the mayor or Chief Crump about your idea? Were they on board with going this direction?
And the other commissioners?
Well, let me be very clear, Erin and Robert. You all know, and this community knows, we have been talking about crime for 3 years now. If I'm wrong, someone correct me. We have been talking about crime for 3 years. The first time that this started, we started talking about this in 2015. And so, now I'm hearing conversations about, well, let's sit down and have a conversation. We did that in 2015. We did that in 2016. We did that in 2017. Here we are in 2018 with the same problem. The mayor and the police chief, they don't want to do anything that's anybody else's idea. Okay?
Wait a minute. That's pretty strong.
Well, I just want to look at some point. We got to call a thing a thing. But there are other law enforcement agencies here, and so if those law enforcement agencies want to work with the program, we can. But every time someone throws an idea out there, it's met with resistance. Councilman Bradford offered a resolution to ask the sheriff to come in for support, and they told Councilman Bradford, we don't want to hear.
Now Bradford's written a letter to the state senator Greg Tarver asking for the state police and the sheriff to come in and patrol the city. You support that idea?
I support, and I commend Councilman Bradford for at least offering up some type of idea. If you will recall, Sheriff Prater reached out to Chief Crump and asked how could he help, and he was told, we don't need any help. And so this is a continued pattern and practice by leadership when ideas are offered by outside individuals. It's declined.
Do you think the sentiment of Shreveport City Hall, specifically the mayor's office, and the police department, Shreveport Police, might have changed in the last week to 10 days?
Well, I hope so. 5 homicides in 10 days is something that, we can't sit back and talk about the first 4 months of the year, because the first 4 months of the year is history. It's great that crime was down. We also had cooler temperatures in the first 4 months of the year, but we're dealing with this pattern of crime that we see every year about this time. And why are we not getting ahead of it? And so that's what this pilot program was offered to do as a grant. If the sheriff wants to work with the grant, I'm more than welcome to working with the sheriff. If the state police wants to work with it, I just don't think we're in a position to turn down resources when it's offered.
The commission voted against your idea 5-5. Mario Chavez said it was too expensive. What were some of the other objections?
Well, let me be clear. They didn't vote against it, but what I had to do was to get it added to the agenda, and it required a unanimous vote. I think at some point we'll have a successful conversation. I'm pretty confident about that. I was trying to get it on the agenda because of what we're seeing, and I think we need to move in a more expeditious fashion. But our citizens are wanting us to do something. I've heard folks say, well, we want the National Guard to come in. And the National Guard doesn't come in and police neighborhoods or police crime. That's not what they do. And so to go to that extreme, I think, we have not exhausted all of the local resources that we have at our disposal. And so, some folks, they'll say, well, we need to give folks better educational opportunities. But when presented that opportunity a couple of years ago, they voted against it. And some of this crime is happening in their neighborhood. So my question at this point is, what are you for? I know what you're against, but what are you for?
In your criticism of the mayor's office and the police chief, you sure sound like a candidate for mayor. Have you made your mind up? And if not, when will you make your mind up whether or not you're running for mayor?
Very soon we'll make some public announcement about what direction we're going to go very soon. But, and I don't want to say that I'm critical of them. I just want to make sure that we are taking these issues, crime, the economy, keeping our neighborhoods clean and safe, all of these things our community is concerned about, and we cannot insulate ourselves and talk to each other as if everything is okay. The Miss America group is in town this week, and that's great for our city. But there is a large part of our city that's dealing and having to deal with crime. And it's not just on one side of town. It's in every neighborhood at this point. I believe City Councilman Fleur had somebody shooting in a house last week. So this issue stretches beyond. It's not just Allendale and Cedar Grove. Crime is pervasive, and it's citywide at this point. And so perception is reality. And at the end of the day, guys, the ultimate question boils down to, do we feel safe?